This brings us to the Back to Basics putting segment, Flitty, right? Support those who support the podcast. Back to Basics putting mirrors designed by Richard Woodhouse and Grant Field. Comes with a 15-degree putting arc in there, the Pro Path putting mirror. Also comes with some gates to help you with your start line stuff, which you're talking about, right? Which is a really, really good thing. Use code TM15 to get yourself 15% off at the checkout. Harris Endicott's on the podcast lately. He uses it. Cam Smith uses it. It's one of my number one coaching tools, especially for putting lessons. It's the first place I put people. In the Back to Basics putting segment, Flick, I have to throw this one on you. Can you tell me or give us a putting tip or your best advice, or what have you got for us?
Oh, I'd probably say I've already kind of shared a little bit, but I think,
yes,
as I said before, like the putt, I use the Back to Basics putting mirror. It's just something simple you can do every day for 10 minutes. And if I was going to go practice, you didn't have a lot of time to practice, I'd jump on that, practice that, and then practice late putting. I wouldn't bother from 10 to 20 feet or 8 to 20 feet. Statistically, you're not going to make that many of them anyway. So I always say, if you're good inside 5 feet, you can get it rolling online, you can still hold a 10-foot putt. But outside that, it's really getting a speed control dialed in. That's what I like to do.
So you use the putting mirror from how far from the hole?
5-6 feet.
And that's kind of your
like
capacity?
Kind of groove that set up, hit a 5-6 foot putt.
Yeah.
If you're rolling that in, you're sweet. Practice that. And then other than that, I'd just be practicing your kind of leg, distance control, speed putting.
And distance control, speed putting that you're practicing there, how far are we talking?
20 feet plus.
20 feet plus. And how do you approach that? Do you use like one or two balls or one ball, putt to a circle, putt to a hole? What do you do?
I would always putt to a hole personally. I know there's a lot of different things, putting to fringes and tees and whatnot. I always like a hole. And I've always used two balls. Like before I play, that's just something I've always done. I've always just worked on short putts. So I'll work on like a 3-4 foot putt, which I'm going to make a lot. I'm going to hold a lot, so I'm going to get some confidence.
Yep.
And then I'll work on my speed putting, and I'll never bother holing out before I play those putts. So if I hit one 5-foot pass, 6-foot pass, I won't bother hitting it. I think you see too many people get to the putting green, they're trying to hole a 7-foot putt with 1.5 foot of break before they go out. You're going to miss them all. So what's the point?
Interesting.
Like you're not doing your confidence any good. If I stand there whole, 33 footers in a row and then my speed's good, well, I'm sweet.
So when you use the Back to Basics putting mirror, and when you're giving a putting lesson, what advice do you give to people? Do you film down the line, face on, and over the top?
Yeah, I was actually talking to someone about this afternoon, and one of the things I was talking to him about, he was asking me how to structure his practice, and he's got a putting mirror, and I said even getting some reference points in terms of, he said he's putting really well at the moment. Okay, so I was like, all right, perfect. Like this is a good opportunity to kind of figure out what you're doing right, and that would be for him measuring how far away his toes are from the mirror. So let's say his toes are 4 inches from the mirror. If he starts struggling, he can go back and go, oh, I was putting really well, my toes were 4 inches from the mirror, they're going out to 5.
Interesting.
And then with the stance, where the ball position is. So if you're putting well, jump on something like that, the mirror, get some references. So when you practice every day, you can go, I need to be 4 inches from the mirror. The ball position's 3 inches inside my left heel and my feet are 7 inches wide, or whatever it may be. But then you have something where you can kind of lock that in every day. And as you spoke about, just kind of do something repeatable every single day. That's
such gold to measure that. It's because when things are going well, you should measure too, just to basically give yourself that reference to come back to. I've got many students where I've got saved their best golf swing, and that we kind of might reflect back on to try and kind of get that back, especially if they go down a bit of a rabbit hole to make some changes. So when you film, do you get them to put the phone above the mirror so they can kind of see the arc of the putting stroke?
Yeah, obviously it's pretty hard to get straight, ideally, straight above, but like kind of just behind where they're going to see how that putter, the line on their putter is matching up with that green line. where that stroke should be going back on the back to basics mirror.
And when you get someone to, trying to quantify their setup position and create some consistency around that, because it's amazing how quickly our setups can change without us being on top of it. Do you have like a pre-shot, like do you encourage people to have like a pre-shot set before they hit a putt?
What do you mean by
like a little rehearsal, like to put the putter down, put the feet the same distance apart?
I think anyone good will naturally do it, but I think you can have some sort of routine. I don't really care what it is, as long as it allows you to get back into the same position every time. So I couldn't care how you do it, to be honest. Like, if you can get set up exactly the same every time, I don't care if you go feet first, putter first, whatever that may be, as long as it's consistent.
I love that. Well, that brings us to the end of the Back to Basics putting segment. Support those who support the podcast. Been big supporters of the podcast, and I think it's the number one training aid out there. It's a must-have for a golf coach. Give you some reference in regards to even when giving a golf lesson or when you're a student, you can see the arc of the putting stroke and you can see exactly where it's breaking down in relationship to the stuff that's on top of the mirror. It's not like your standard mirror. It can measure face angle the whole way through. And support those who support the podcast. TM15 discount code is below.